Welcome back to another episode of Hard Conversations. I am Jeff Black. I'm joined by my good friends, Jason Theobald, aka Scooby, and Jason Roberson, aka the Mighty Robo. He is not brokering a deal, oddly, at this time for millions of dollars, upon which he plans to retire and have his diving expedition company. But we do have something who's really awesome, a conversation, a topic that we want to talk about, and that is cryptocurrency. And for that, we actually turn to an expert, something that Jason and I or Robo are familiar with, but not overly familiar with, not enough to be comfortable for the three of us to bang this out. So, Jason and I know this beautiful man named Andrew Peters, who actually has a cryptocurrency group. He understands it very well. I'm going to call him an expert, but we brought him on today to talk about what is cryptocurrency, what is blockchain, and maybe some like where people need to be looking as Trump takes presidency, different topics like that. I know Robo and Scoob have got their questions ready to go, but Andy, thanks for joining us today. Can you give us a little background on who you are, and then let's get into like what cryptocurrency is and what blockchain is and why even having the digital asset even matters?
Yeah, so my name is Andy Peters. I've been in crypto for quite some time now. I would say a lot of people look at me as kind of the poster boy child in our local city for, painting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency all over the city. But got into it at around the latter part of 2012 into 2013, and then really started seeing the benefits of it when it was around 2014, 2015. And that's when I was like, man, this could be used for an investment opportunity, because prior to that, everyone's using it for things that they probably shouldn't have been using it for.
Yep.
And being in the bodybuilding world,
Yep.
which don't look at my figure now and judge me, but I used to work out and used to stay heavy in it. And when I needed certain supplements, that's just how I had to get it, was with Bitcoin.
Yep. Dude,
And
I got Bitcoin buys at like 2 grand in my Coinbase. And I'm like, oh, I wish I just kept that, dude.
yeah, so I'm out here buying supplements with
Yep.
Bitcoin.
Yep.
And next thing you know, you start looking, you're like, wow, if I'd have left that money in there,
Yep.
it'd have made me a little bit of extra money. So at first, I think it was a means of moving money in a different way that was untraceable and being anonymous. And then it turned into a way to invest, and it changes, the wealth of hands, if you will.
Yep.
So in 2014, I'd worked at a place called Unum. It was an insurance company. And I was like, man, I'm tired of working this job. My daughter had made it a point that she wanted dad to be at home. My wife had made it a point she wanted me to be at home. So I took everything. I'd been there for 15 years. I took everything that was in my 401k and dumped it in Bitcoin.
Wow.
And that was in 2014. And then fast forward, a buddy of mine named Doug, and I'm sure Jason, you remember Doug, that used
Mhm.
to be in our group. He came to my house one day and said, man, have you heard about this new token coming out called Ethereum? And I was like, I've heard people talking about it, but I've not, put any time or effort into it. I'm still a Bitcoin guy. And he was like, dude, I think you should check it out. And he was like, $9 or $10. And we started throwing some money in Ethereum. And the next thing you know, that thing just starts skyrocketing. We're like, we may be onto something here. And fast forward now, that's been years ago. And I'm still actively trading. So I'm an active trader, got 19 years under my belt, still play with
Damn.
cryptocurrency. And here I am.
Damn.
That's my story.
Well, so I think that's very unique in how you got into it. It explains an origin story for why you were driven to go far in this. What is blockchain exactly? Like, what is cryptocurrency? Most people are like, I talk to guys or girls around my age, I'm 44. They're like, well, what is it for? Like they kind of understand it's like something, but they don't know what it's used for other than like Bitcoin for currency. Like, but you do have all these tokens. So can
Yeah.
you give
So
like a
the
little rundown on it?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to explain cryptocurrency in the simplest means for people who don't understand it is it's a digital currency. It's no different than a digital currency that's on your debit card now. Like there's kids today who have probably never walked around with $1,000 to $2,000 cash in their pocket ever. It's just a means of digital currency. They've got Venmo, they've got Cash App, they've got, Zelle, they've got their debit card that they're swiping, and all they're doing is moving digital currencies around, but it's centralized within the banking system. So being decentralized through obviously Bitcoin cryptocurrency, then it's just a bunch of crypto that is out at different wallets, different exchanges, and you're taking it from one hand and just sending it to the next. So it's like a P2P transaction. It's no different than the banking system, essentially. as far as the fact that it's decentralized instead of centralized. And then the blockchain itself, you think about all these little bitty blocks that are holding information, and that's your treasury, that's your QC, that's your transparency. And within those blocks, every block is filled with information. And then that information gets locked, and then there's a new block that's added to it. So think of it as a notepad. As you're out there, you write something down in a notepad, you fill it out, you do a transaction. Now you've got a new transaction, you just flip the page, and that new page is considered the block. And that's it in the simplest terms. It's technology. It's a technology that empowers cryptocurrencies to be moved around from peer to peer and exchange to exchange.
Sweet. Jay, Scoop,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you fire one off,
Yep.
and then Robo
Yep.
after that.
I mean, I have so many we won't cover it in all this episode, but that's good. So just staying on blockchain for a second, let's let the listeners understand that not every crypto is tied to a blockchain, though, right? I mean, some are literally meme coins that have no tech and it's just a culture, and some have blockchain, and some have other utility like XRP that I believe is to move money between institutions that are international, and you got XLM. I believe that's you move money between like smaller institutions. How does
It
some of
is.
that break down? And kind of maybe I guess give them a little background on that.
So, I mean, the easiest way to explain is like with memes. So, for example, memes are not necessarily a technology. It's a coin that is made on that specific blockchain. So you'll have like, say you're using Solana, for example, then you're using the Solana network. If you're using Ethereum, you're using the Ethereum network. And by having these different coins, it's like building, I tell you, it's like building a street. You've got highways and you've got interstates. So let's say the interstate's Bitcoin. Okay, well then you've got all these little side highways that go off of it that go into this project and that project. You've got, Ethereum, you've got all this stuff that branches off of it. Well, then your meme coins essentially are like your stores that are going to open up off this one street. And people are just saying, I want to support this store, and I'm going to buy it and hold it until it makes me money, and then I'm going to sell it. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to buy some of this store. And I mean, that's essentially all you're doing is moving money around to things that you want to invest in. It's not I tell people memes and stuff like that are not long term unless you get lucky. There's some, like the Pepe coin. The buddy of mine messaged me at a coffee shop one day. He's like, "Hey, bro, there's this meme coin popping up. You should probably throw in $1,000. If you do, it's gonna make you at least 10, 20 grand." It's like, cool, I'll throw in a little bit of money. And now fast forward, you look at that thing, it's like, holy cow, you know, if I'd have put in 10 grand, look at that, what that would have made me. So it's always a guess on the meme coins. But I tell people the larger, coins of your Ethereums, your XLMs, your XRPs, your Bitcoin, those are ones that you can look for your long-term investments on.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Cool. So, I think Jeff, I have other questions that can branch off that, but I can throw it to Robo if he wants.
Yeah, I want to hear Robo's opinion because Robo's, our F&I whiz,
Like,
out there just loves
I,
money.
I find this shit so fascinating. I could pick Andy's brain all day. So like,
Oh, I know. I mean,
I'll
that's why
punt
I'm
for
looking
like,
forward to this. So
I
yeah.
get more fun if we do these at night time because then I'm just sipping on bourbon and it just gets rowdy.
I'm by far the least knowledgeable out of everyone on this, hands down. I've only dabbled in it. What my concern comes to be, and really what I want to hear from you is, I was in Voyager when Voyager went under. That was the only money I'd ever put into crypto. Obviously, it went through bankruptcy. We got settlements, but I got fractions of what I put in. I don't know how to protect myself from something like that happening in the future. So I'd love to hear, how do you keep yourself from being exposed to some of these shady firms that are popping up overnight?
If it's a firm saying that they're going to invest cryptocurrency for you and they're going to make you X amount of return or anything like that, I stay away altogether.
yeah,
Altogether. Because you're relying on people's emotions to take the trades for you, to manage your funds, and then they're all doing that to make profit. You're never going to find a cryptocurrency firm that says, "Let me invest your funds for you and we want no profits. We're doing this all for you." That doesn't exist. They're all in it for profit. And as greed starts coming in, obviously that messes them up. Well, unlike the traditional financial markets that we have, if you're investing people's funds in, say, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, or you're going with Amazon, Google, Apple, any of those companies, chances are you're going to have a downward spiral at some point, but those companies are going to be around forever. Apple is not going to disappear. They're not. Their ecosystem is so big that everyone in America, excuse me, is tied to their ecosystem. That's why you won't see people, even though some products that Android has is better, you won't see people who've been with Apple for 10 years jump over because it changes everything. You've got to change your computer, your phones, you got to move this here. So, they know that they can keep people in this financial market through all the downturns, through all the, whether you have like a traditional market collapse, they can keep your funds there and they're going to tell you, hey, it's for the future of yourself and your family. Just ride this out for 10 or 12 years and you'll be okay. But those jumps and falls aren't as big as what we have in cryptocurrency. So when these financial and wealth management firms start popping up and they say, hey, we want to invest your money in cryptocurrency, sounds all great. So they get everyone's funds, they're making a little bit of money, but cryptocurrency isn't like the traditional stock market. We've seen it crash from $60,000, $70,000 down to $13,000. We don't see that in our normal financial markets. So when a crash that big happens and you've got people that have invested millions and they see, say, a $10 million account get down to $1.3 million, they're ready to dip out. They're done. So they want to pull their money out. Well, when all these people start pulling their money out of these wealth managers, there's no more money left to give. They have to file bankruptcy or they just close up shop. So they haven't got to a point yet. Well, I say the cryptocurrency financial market hasn't gotten to a point yet to where it's stable enough to where people can come in and continue to invest and feel safe with their funds being there. You're going to have those massive, uptrends and downtrends. I mean, Bitcoin went from what, 107,000 down to almost $90,000 flat. I mean, that's a pretty significant drop. I mean, in a matter of a day.
Isn't that probably about is that about $1 billion plus just gone in an instant?
Yeah, just gone. And I mean, when you look at those numbers, you're like, well, if we're at $100,000, a 10% drop would be 90,000. So, I mean, yeah, that's a 10, 12% drop in a 24-hour period. If the traditional stock market dropped 10% in one day, you would have an economic collapse. Yeah. The economy would collapse as we know it. So, having those sorts of drops in a crypto market, we all just shrug it off. We don't think a thing about it. We're like, it dropped 12%. We're good. I mean, you can see Bitcoin drop 30%. No one's batting an eye at it. But again, traditional markets drop 15, 20%. We're going to war, So because of that, I wouldn't trust anyone that says that they're going to invest funds on behalf of like cryptocurrency sides. But what I do tell people to do from an investment standpoint, and this is kind of the caveat to that question, is let's say you've got like Coinbase or a Gemini, you could do reoccurring buys and just open up your own portfolio yourself and say, okay, because that's what I even do with mine. I do it with my wife's. We've got multiple cell phones. So like I've got one cell phone with an email account that's for my son, another cell phone with an email account that's for my daughter. And on those accounts, I just load crypto on there for them. And then I do the reoccurring buying. So it's like, okay, every Monday, we're buying $100 of Bitcoin. Every Tuesday, we're buying $100 of Ethereum. Every Wednesday, we're buying $50 of Suku. And it's a weekly reoccurring buy. And then you fast forward 5, 6, 7 years from now, it's either $500,000 or you're at $1 million plus, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Wow.
And that way you manage your own portfolio and you're not relying on someone else to do it for you to where they can just pull the rug out from underneath you or tell you, hey, due to our poor financial decisions and management, you just lost all your money.
Now, I manage my own portfolio at Voyager. I had a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum.
Yeah.
That's still disappeared on me. All gone. I got maybe 30% of what I invested in back.
And unfortunately, too, we got to look at exchanges. That's a big deal. I mean, look at what happened with Blockfolio, FTX. But I mean, again, then look at traditional banks. If everyone starts going, I mean, you could use any bank, for example, say Smart Bank, Pinnacle Bank. If every single person went to that bank and started pulling out funds, they're shutting down. Mm-hmm. They don't have any safety, no safeguard to say, wow, we could still withstand a full withdrawal out of our systems. So we saw that with Silicon Valley Bank, one of the largest banks, for investments, and everyone went to pull their funds out. There was no money. They shut down. So, you've got to look at exchanges that are up and running that have money put back, that are well ran, that are true. I want to work with unfortunately, I would love to see the cryptocurrency not work with the government. and do their own thing, but that's just where we're at. We're in America. So, I mean, you got places like Coinbase, that are trying to work really hard with the SEC, stay up to par on everything. You've got Gemini, that does pretty well. So it's ones that have been in the game for like day one. Those are the exchanges and platforms I'm going to trust. The ones that are new that just pop up, it's like, how can I trust y'all? Because if you truly believed in crypto, wouldn't you have been here from the beginning? And we're going to see it more and more going into 2025. We're going to see more exchanges pop up. We're going to see more wealth managers pop up, more businesses pop up than you've ever seen in your life saying, I want to manage your funds, invest in crypto with us. We're going to give you X amount APY a year. And I can promise you they will die by the fire because they've not been in it from the beginning. So they don't have that, incurred money that's been set up there. They're coming in at Bitcoin at $95,000, $100,000 to invest it. You've got companies like Coinbase that started getting Bitcoin when it was, I mean, single digits and stashing it back. So, I mean, there's so much meat and potatoes behind that.
Those things. I've had a few people hit me up, Robo, about managing, and they take like 30%. Where like you can find a good Discord channel like Andy runs, you pay a monthly fee, and then it's all yours. And you get the
Yeah.
experience of all these guys who have been at this for 10 years. So that's probably a better selection because then at least
Yeah.
you're handling your trade. You don't got to go into it like,
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I'm an old stockbroker. I'll never let anyone trade for me. Like
yeah, I mean,
never under any circumstance.
no,
Yeah.
it makes no sense whatsoever. And like Jason had said, even in our Discord, I mean, I think we're going to close out December at a little over 2,300% on our cryptocurrency projects. I mean, that's a
That's wild.
substantial big number, for us to hit. And that's not anyone else saying, hey, we're going to make you X amount, take 30%. We don't want any of your money. We just want people to get on there, have some fun, and trade away and support some cool projects.
Yeah.
So I was going to make a comment. My comment is snide, but
I've got
I
to ask,
so
are you a
far,
Tennessee Vols fan?
yeah.
All right, guys, I got to jump off this call. I just got an emergency that I got
Yeah.
to
Who are you a fan of?
Georgia Bulldogs.
All right, well, we'll see you later. That's all I'll say. We're gonna plant that flag in Ohio State's field tomorrow night, though. That's all I know
Oh,
first.
I love
Um,
it.
I wanted to make this comment because you often have old school money, new school money is kind of the way I see it. Like it's similar in the tattoo world and even in the bodybuilding world, right? Like we see it in all sorts of things. I have been able to withdraw a significant amount of Coinbase that I know for a fact a bank would not let me pull in one sitting when I walk in. So when everybody talks to me about the liquidity of it, I'm like, no, my eyes have always seen that when I wanted substantial number, I went and got it. And where I walked into a bank before and been like, hey, if I want to pull that same number out, I'm being told no, or I've got to have a manager's approval. And I'm like, but
Yep.
it's my money. You know what I mean? So it's very, very different. So I'm glad you brought that. I wanted to ask something though, speaking of currency, how does one stomach the volatility of the market by having quote unquote what would be in essence their currency, their paychecks, their whatever, going into Bitcoin? I mean, my stepdaughter tells me some of the kids who she knows when they get paid, they just immediately convert their money over into Bitcoin and
They're
then they
smart
move it
kids.
through. Yeah, I mean, so I already know it's here. It's just if and the young kids in my gym talk to me about it. But how do you stomach that volatility, watching your money that you work so hard to get in essence at $8 an hour, maybe go down to $3 an hour, and then hopefully come back up?
So, one, I do want to touch on the question talking about going to get your money out, and that's why I chuckled and laughed because Jason was in my cryptocurrency group when I went to a local bank to withdraw a withdrawal. It was like $290,000 that I'd cashed out from Coinbase, and it's when we had that big TRX run. I don't know if you remember that, where Tron went 1,000x, and I was able to
I
catch
was
a
in
pretty
on
good.
that.
I was able to catch a pretty good run of that, and I said I'm going to cash out a percentage of this and just keep USD. Like I want the cash. And I made a whole video about it, put it in our Chat of Crypto group. And the bank, I mean, you would have thought I was robbing the bank. It took them about a week and a half to get my money.
Yeah.
They kicked me out of their bank essentially, not like kicked me out, but told me I could no longer bank there. They were closing down all my accounts. You can't come back, yada yada yada. They were turning all these forms to the IRS. Like it was this whole big thing because I was withdrawing this amount of money. And I was like, guys, this is legitimate. If I was doing this illegally, why would I run it through the banking system?
Yeah, right.
Like, think about that. If I was doing this illegally, I would have went to another country,
Yep.
found someone to cash out my Bitcoin, and I would have came back on a private jet and called it a day. And it was a a foreign language to them. So, because that's what a lot of crypto guys do. I mean, I'm just being honest. They'll get, dual, citizenship somewhere else. And there are people in other countries that'll cash you out, for 10, 15, $20 million. And they do it all day. Then they hop on their private jets, come back over and chill out. And that's why the government for so many years just had like this massive stigma on it that they, it's terrible. Get out of it. It'll make you poor. You'll lose everything, because they knew what people were doing. And obviously, you guys being in the gym industry, and especially, Jason, with all the stuff you've done with coaching, with health, this. If the government tells you that something is terrible for you, chances are it's probably
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. So,
Yeah.
When they're telling you that it's terrible, 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 it's like, well, cool. I want more of that. If
Mhm.
the masses are going one direction, I'm going the other, because that means they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, because 9 times out of 10, the masses are always losing. That's why there's a 99% and a 1% factor. So that was just crazy how the bank worked. But talking about how you handle the volatility of it, it's almost out of sight, out of mind that you have to have. You're not going to, I tell everyone this, let's say you're making $100,000 a year from your job. Are you going to take $100,000 and throw it all in Bitcoin? I mean, absolutely not. Because if you put 100 grand in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin say goes from 90,000 to 60,000, you just lost a chunk of your yearly pay, and that's going to sting a lot. So you have to build a cushion underneath you that allows you to say, okay, this is cool. I got in and say, like right now, people are buying Bitcoin all day. It's $90,000. Well, I mean, 90,000 plus. So they probably don't have a cushion. But if they have a cushion at say 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, then that volatility is not going to bother them that much, because they've already made money down here. So that's kind of what they have to build up to. And that's where education comes in to say, hey, if you've got an extra grand, sure, throw it in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter, because if you throw an extra grand in Bitcoin and it goes from 90,000 to 45, your grand's $500. That's not going to kill you. But if that's 100 grand and that's 50 grand, that's going to murder your pockets. So you just have to kind of build that cushion. And over the course of, say 2 to 3 years, they're going to be through all the roller coaster rides, and they're going to look at their portfolio and say, oh, wow, this is manageable because I've made money now. And that's how I do with, like I mentioned, the coin Suku, SUKU. And I mean, it was trading at, like, I think high 2.5, 3 cents. And I told everyone, if you've got any money at all just sitting around, throw it all in there. It's probably not going to go below 2 to 3%, because when they started the company, that's where a lot of your big wells and your big investors got in at. So they're not going to let go of the bags. They're not going to let their floor fall out. It's going to stabilize in there. And it bounces around from say 3 cents to 7 cents to 9 cents to 13 cents. And that's where you guys will see me if you watch me on social media. That's the money I spend. So if I'm out somewhere and I pull up my Coinbase wallet,
Yeah, I saw you do
it's
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh wow, today my portfolio is up 18%. That means I can go live for free. I'm buying my groceries for free. I'm buying my dinners for free. I can pay a car payment for free. I can do anything I want to for free, because I'm up 18% on my portfolio. Well, if I wake up and I look at it and my portfolio is negative, it's like, I'm not spending that money today. I'm going to go spend my USD that's chilling over here in my bank account. And then I'll spend my USD, but then I'll also dump a little bit of USD in there when it's negative, because chances are it's going to come back up 10 to 12% within the next 2 or 3 days. And that money just keeps compounding.
Man, that's pretty good idea.
Jay, you can go,
Yeah.
or Robo, whichever one.
Yeah, what I was going to talk about is, I guess, what I find fascinating is how the market every 4 years has a bull run. And, the Bitcoin halves, and then usually 6, 7 months later, it seems like there's this huge pump. We just got a president that is pro crypto. That's what made me get back in. I literally put almost 100K in HBAR on November 4th. And
That's awesome.
I rode that son of a bitch up to about 20 cents. I'm not even going to tell you what my portfolio was, but it was a lot of money. And then it started to come down and I got really nervous and I sold my first bag and I made a lot of cash, but I could have sold it a lot higher. And I bought back in. But anyways, I kind of knew that we'd already halved, and I had that knowledge from prior markets. And I took a bet that Trump was going to win, and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. And I found a coin that I didn't think was going to go lower and that it was undervalued. But my point is, kind of talk about how Bitcoin halves and what does that mean? Because I doubt our people know what that means. And then why does that usually perpetuate a run? And do you think there is still a run to be had, or are our listeners too late? I want to know your perspective on those.
So, I mean, I still think there's a run to be have. I mean, because there's a lot of money on the sidelines, but you've got to think. Have you guys seen the chart of the top 15 Bitcoin wallets? Have you
No.
guys seen that yet?
No.
Let me see if I got it on my phone, I'm going to read it out to you. I'm pretty sure I still have it saved in my notes. Let's see here. Top 15. I don't have it saved on this phone. It's on my other phone. But back in the day, when you look at your top, Bitcoin holders,
Yep.
they were all anonymous.
Mhm.
Everyone was anonymous. You didn't know who they were because it was just a wallet address.
Yep.
Well, now when you look at the top 15 Bitcoin holders, it's all banks. It's
Okay.
hedge funds. So there's so much money that's being controlled at the top now that it's not being really controlled by people's emotions anymore. Like when we see these big swings in Bitcoin, these aren't people anymore.
Mhm.
It's banks, which is what I hate. I don't like that because we see in the stock markets, the banks can control what they want to control because they own a majority of it. Well, that's what we're seeing now with, Bitcoin. So because of that, I think the banks are going to say, man, we have so much money we can play with. We can almost control the market now. So, if they have that, big push, they'll be like, hey, we've got a president that's obviously pro crypto. Let's go ahead and drive this thing up. Let's get some more Americans' monies in here because we got to understand too, the banking system hates Trump. I mean, if we think about it, the banking system, the traditional American banking system hates Trump. So if he's pro crypto, and this is me being a conspiracy theorist, guys, if he's pro crypto and they know they can control the markets, he gets into office and they just keep pushing this thing up. We see 110, 115, $120,000, and this thing's going nuts. And, Trump's like, put all your money in Bitcoin, put all your money in Bitcoin. It's going to change American lives, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's throwing their money in Bitcoin. And then your holders, powers that be, the banking system says, let's just go ahead and take some profits.
Profit. Yeah.
Because they've been buying up since $20,000-$30,000 massively.
Yeah.
And they're not buying $100,000. They're not buying $500,000. They're going in buying $200 million, $1 billion, $500 million. So think about what that number looks like. If you're just a bank, and we'll just use $1 million, for instance.
Yeah.
If you're going in buying $1 million of something at 20 grand and it goes to 100,000, you just increased your million to 5 million. So what happens when that's 100 million to $500 million? They have to take profit somewhere to make it work because the traditional banking system still operates off USD.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to use it as just a general investment for them. Well, if you've got everyone, because let's be honest, you guys have probably had more people ask you about Bitcoin in the last 3 months than you've probably heard in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Everyone's throwing their money in it. People are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, professional athletes to business owners to, like you had said, Jeff, kids, people that, your kids talk to. But what happens if the banks just start dumping a little bit of their bags and they drive that down by 50%? What's that now do to the people? And now they're going to start pointing fingers at Trump. You did this. You told us to do this. You knew this was going to crash. And now it puts that pressure now on him to fix what? A system he can't fix.
Yep.
Because it's now controlled by banks, not individuals anymore. So that's kind of where my take is. Yes, I think there's room to grow, but I think we need to tread very lightly on that room and look at projects, like you said, if you're getting into projects like HBAR,
Yep.
You're looking at things where where the floor is at. You're looking at, projects that might be 10 cents, 5 cents, 2 cents. not ones that are like, oh man, this is at all-time high of $1,000. Its all-time low was $50. That's a big gap, to fill up there. And then talking about the halving, the halving happens every 4 years. And basically what that means is, mining new Bitcoin gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And when that gets cut in half, there's just so many Bitcoins that obviously get mined, for the eternity of Bitcoin. And that also changes how the miners get paid out. It changes their Bitcoin rewards. It changes everything.
So it cuts it in half basically. And then
Correct.
if I understand it, we're about 19.2 mil made and they're only going to make 21 mil, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Then it's a finite asset. And that's why its value is so big, because a lot of these other coins are, trillion coins. So it's harder to,
It's just like that. And I posted a thing, I think it was day before yesterday, and it made complete sense. It said, why would you ever invest your money into something that another man can print more of?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that hits hard when you think about it, because
Yep.
another group of people can devalue what you're buying into.
Yep. Do you
Robo.
think, can I get one more in on this?
Sure, on the same path. Now I want to hear from a Robo because I want to hear
Okay.
if he has a contrarian view.
Do you think this current pullback, is it just because we're in December, or do you think it was in response to Powell kind of saying there's not going to be as many cuts in 2025, and he still dropped some points, but inflation really hasn't stopped? I mean, if you really look at things, it's almost like he did it because he was forced to. It seemed like the market hyper reacted to that news, and I'm wondering if this is just a quick correction or this is going to last up till inauguration. What's your feeling on that? And do you think that's kind of what flushed this out?
So I have something I'm going to read that I took from a buddy of mine this morning. This is one of my economic buddies. He's very, like, his education level trumps mine by probably like 20x. I mean, the guy just, whereas I study, like, the economics and fundamentals of the US,
Yep.
and I'll touch on a little bit of countries here and there to kind of figure out what we're doing as far as a currency, is looking. This guy studies every country economics. He studies all the fundamentals. I mean, everything to a T. And he was talking about, he thinks it's going to go crazy. He was like, you've got a 6 trillion OPEX today. You've got a government shutdown that's looming.
Yep.
You got Freaky Friday that's on the menu. You've got masses that are losing jobs in droves, all across the world. You've got, he said, here it is right here. He said, masses are going to obviously lose everything, blah, blah. He said, most everyone will continue to be in the wrong on the dollar. Europe is done. He's like, the euro is going to 0.80 to 0.83, and that's just the beginning of it. We look at the dot-com bust, we had Republicans in office. We look at the 9/11, Republicans in office. We look at the GFC, Republicans in office. We look at, the COVID, we had Republicans in office. We look at all this stuff, and it's like, why does it always happen when Republicans are always in office? Because you've got another party that typically is against you, who has the powers that be, that want to make it look bad for your party. And every time that happens, there's always a flip, typically the year after. And, we've been in a deflationary depression now for years. I mean, ever since COVID hit, everything's been skyrocketing.
No way. They say the economics is fantastic in our
I know,
country.
right? Everything's
Yeah.
been going crazy, but I tell people, travel. That's what happens. A lot of people sit in their little bubble and they don't travel to see what's happening all around the US or what's happening around the world. And, we've got, the Fed doesn't necessarily control everything. And he said, he had sent me this. He said, the Fed cuts the rates, the bond market offsets to make sure that it'll blow up the asset bubble. The Fed won't cut bond market rallies as credit blows up the blowing of the asset bubble. So we've got a 10-year yield that is now up 100 basis points over the period of the time that the cut Fed by another 100. So it says a once a year 100 cycle event is coming. It'll wipe out most of people's financial markets. And we're also in a 400 trillion debt. And, when you look at that as a whole, it's like the powers that be say everything's great. We're running the best we've ever been. But my wife and I have been traveling the US for the last year. We've bounced around to every city probably you could think of. And we're going to places and going to mom and pop restaurants. I almost refuse to eat at chain restaurants. And when we go in here, you're hearing the stories from the owners. You're hearing the stories from the waiters and waitresses. And they're saying, this is the slowest we've ever been.
Yep.
We've had to cut jobs. Things aren't doing well. Well, then you've got companies like Microsoft that are part of the Dow Jones, so we'll go from small town to big numbers. They're posting gains like crazy. If you look at them in the Dow Jones, it's just been an up run
Yep.
all year. But then go search Microsoft job layoffs, and they'll talk about all the thousands of people they've laid off this year. Go do the same with Amazon. Take all the top companies in the Dow Jones, the 30 companies, and go research those 30 companies, and you see horror stories of what's been happening, but yet they're climbing to all-time highs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't match what's being said. And I think I think that's what's happening with the markets showing red is it's the banks are slowly saying we can't hang on much longer. Like something has to give. That we're overbought in every which direction. And when it comes crashing down, I mean, I think that will we see like a COVID, drop in the stock market? I don't think we'll ever see that again, like that hard a hit in our lifetime. But I think that, to see a 6 to 8,000, point drop in the market, I mean, it's looming right above us. It's just a matter of time at this point.
Yep. Yeah.
Robo, fly in with your thoughts, my friend.
Yeah, I'll follow it up with a question, but I'm thinking that the next recession is somewhere around 2028 to 2030, and it's worse than the Great Depression, significantly worse. We've all been turned into subscriptions. We're no longer individuals who can buy things. You're a subscription for a big business. Everything you have to pay multiple times. There's no one cost.
I've got subscription for my Discord.
Yeah, it's the smart business way, but it's terrible economically for the people, in the lower classes. They can't afford to live. And unfortunately, the class divide's getting bigger. More of us are being pushed down. Fewer can get to the top. The American dream is dead. That's my rant. My
No, it is.
question is
I
back.
just talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, it's gone. But my question is the nuts and bolts of buying crypto. How do you know what to buy? So I look at Hawk Tuah and that whole disaster. And to me, that reads exactly like a pump and dump. That's a penny stock pump and dump
Who?
to the T.
How
So how do
is this a
Mm-mm.
podcast or
Stay away
what are
from
you?
that.
No,
Come
we're
on.
adults.
no.
Okay, I was gonna say if any grown man
Yeah.
puts
Yeah,
their money,
exactly.
hard-earned money, into and
Yep.
invest into a girl who spits on wieners,
Yep. Yep.
you kind of deserve to lose
Get
your
what you,
money. It's
yeah.
natural selection.
Yep.
I could say something. I feel like I'd go past the R, like a little
Yeah, I
too
feel
far.
like I wanted to fly NC-17 too. I was like, what? Oh,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
yeah, we're gonna shut
Oh,
that
that's
down and
great.
say, how do I research? How do I decide what to buy?
So, and I mean, obviously, this is just a shameless plug for anyone that has a community of any sort. You have to be surrounded by a lot of people who are also doing research for you. While I consider myself a good crypto guy as far as being able to research projects, looking at their own personal telegrams, looking at Twitters, going in and reading white papers, running white papers, through AI and saying, hey, what other white paper has an AI that's similar to this? I mean, that has a similar wording to this to make sure it was actually authenticated, through generation. I can do pretty good at that, but I'm also only one person. You have crypto bros, and when I say crypto bros, it's the guys that are living in probably a 400 square foot apartment, or they're living in their mom's basement. They've not seen daylight for a year. They order Uber Eats every day, and they're probably 300 pounds obese. Those are the guys I want to listen to because they're researching everything. They're in all the dark channels. They're still using IRC to chat. I mean, they're doing everything. So having some of those people plugged in communities are where we can say, hey, what do you think about this project? And then that one crypto bro goes, don't touch it. Because the owners of this, and this, it's going to be a rug pull. Or if we look at their liquidity and we look at their market cap and we look at the addresses that have been buying these same address, they'll actually go look at addresses and say, okay, these top 20 addresses have been pumping this coin, this coin, and this coin, and they've dumped after, 24, 48 hours. So I wouldn't know that information if I didn't have people going to look for that information for me. And that's what messes up the average American in trading is they get in, they see this pipe dream, like you had said, the American dream. Everyone wants it, but it's dead. So they want to get in the next big hit and make 200x. And man, I'm gonna put in $1,000, make 200K. I'm gonna make that 200K, split it up into 20K, and I'm gonna make $5 million and retire. But then they get dumped on every single project because they don't have the proper channels, they don't have the proper research, or with the people doing the research for them, and it just keeps them in left field always. So I'm always going to go back to an individual can research, but there's so much, you just have to have so many eyes on projects to know what they're doing.
Fair.
What about,
Scoop.
well, what I was going to say was, I think if you're someone who's looking to trade, that's probably extremely important. But aren't there at least 10, 20 of the top coins where you could put some money in a dip and just let
Oh
it run
yeah,
for a couple years and not even touch it? Like, let's say
all
you
day.
touch, you got your renders, you got your HBARs, you've got your AVAXs or whatever may be SUIs, XLMs, XRPs. Couldn't you just buy those on a dip like we're in right now and just say,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not touching it till 2027. I'm not even going to look at it. Is that a strategy for the people who are only going to get on Coinbase and aren't really going to sit
all
in there
day.
daily? What do you think about that?
I love it. I mean, I don't know how well you can see on my phone, but I mean, I just sent this message right here, and it was this morning at 9:41. And this individual says, "Hey Andy, I have a quick question for you. For someone new that wanted to start a small crypto portfolio, what coins would you suggest?" I said, anything that trends red that is in the top 20 to 30 coins on
Grab it
CoinMarketCap.
now. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's all you're doing. And that's the simplest way to do it without researching well, I mean, you still have to do some research, but without like going down the rabbit holes or worrying about your money being taken from you. You just pull up CoinMarketCap, you look at your top 20 to 30 coins, and the moment you have that 40-50% pullback,
Yep.
boom, $100, $50, 500, however much you can afford. And then it goes green, awesome. It goes
Dollar
red
cost average.
again, boom, you throw it in. And I mean, before you know it, your portfolio is stacked so big. I did that statistic the other day on Instagram because so many people, they ask that same question. What's safe for me to get into? What is safe for me to invest in time over time over time? It's like, well, for me, like a dad, I want to do stuff that's safe for my kids. I want to give them a nice portfolio, outside of me and my wife's life insurance, outside of all this stuff, what can I give them? So I posted on Instagram. It was, let's see here, like yeah. So back in 2017 is when I posted it. And I said, invest $150 a week, and here's what your investment's going to look like. And I gave out coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I'd given out Litecoin, and a few others. And $62,700 invested today at $150 a week. As of today, the value is $563,370.
Wow.
And at $50 a week, you're at $20,900 invested with a total portfolio value of $187,790.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
you can't lie that $50 a week is going to break about anybody. It's not going to.
No.
$50 a week is what most kids will spend just going to Starbucks and getting a cup of coffee or something. And if you are that kid, yes, you've had to wait 7 years, but imagine being an 18-year-old, you're now 25 and you have 187 grand, or you have $500,000 sitting in an account that's going to continue to grow as long as you're feeding that machine.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that. So that's the kind of thing, I was more talking about, guys, on doing that, you're just dollar cost averaging. Realize sometimes you're going to be a little higher, sometimes you're going to be a little lower. But I mean, that's pretty powerful. Most people probably listening could have put 150 in a month or a week, whatever those numbers were. And I wish I was doing it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I'd play the bumps and then I'd get out and I'd play the bumps, and I did pretty nicely. But I could have easily done that
Well,
and just chilled. And
and
I
the cool thing too, playing that weekly recurring buy, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
So you're not worried about, is the market red or is the market green?
Yep.
Have I lost money or have I made money? Because you're looking at it from an end of the year perspective.
Correct.
And 9 times out of 10, if you're putting in $100 to $150 a week into something, at the end of the year, you're pretty much break even, or you've made just a little bit of money. In these scenarios, you've probably made, really decent over the last, year or 2 years if you were doing that.
Yeah.
So it all averages out because, like you said, you've got your years of the bull market, I mean the bear market, but in that bear market, you've got those recurring buys that are taking shape anyway.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Now, guys, we have to like tread carefully. We can't, we're not financial advisors, so we can't tell you where to put your money. But anytime I listen to anything online, I do like to at least hear them talk about a few coins that they like. I know Jeff has a few he likes. Andy, I'm sure you do. I do. I don't know, Robo, if you have any. But Jeff, before we get off here, I would like to at least throw out a few that people can research on their own if they want to do some of this dollar cost averaging that Andy's talking
Well,
about.
I was actually going to ask him a question that I thought was pretty important.
Cool.
I think we
I just mean
should.
before we get off the path,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
would like
No.
to throw out some things people can research and actually use to
Oh,
potentially start
yes.
that type of thing.
Yeah, man. I totally. I go with that. I wanted to ask you, Andrew, about taxes. This is something that seems rather confusing. I've seen some people say create a trust, funnel the money. Da, da. I've seen all sorts of answers. I don't. The way the law is, if it's less than 12 months, I believe it's a 40% tax. And if it's held over for a year, it's like in a capital gains, whatever. Can you clarify that? And how do you advise people to even do the
So
tax stuff?
yeah, I mean, it's going to be like any traditional stock market, whether you have your short-term gains or your long-term. I mean, that doesn't change no matter what financial market you're in. As far as the people that do, they'll tell you to get a trust and move the money here, get an offshore account or do this. That's your YouTube bros and Instagram bros that are being influencers. And if you ask them to see their money, they probably have none. They're just spitting off from the back of their mouth because let's face it, the average person doesn't have the amount of money to really set up a trust the right way. If you're setting up a trust for tax purposes and putting all your assets in it and putting, crypto in it and putting USD in it, you're probably spending 60 to 80 grand to start that trust up. Most people don't have 60, 80 grand to do the trust the right way. Now you can get trust obviously cheaper than that, but to work with a good attorney that knows what they're doing, you're spending 60, 80 grand. So I tell people the way that I do my taxes, yes, we have a trust, we have a family trust, but for me, I do a lot of my crypto stuff. I just pay it. I don't worry about it. I don't try to finesse the system. I'm not trying to say, man, what am I going to do with this money? I need to do this. I just pay because the last thing you want is the IRS digging in your back pocket, especially when it comes to crypto, because
Yeah, that's what I
you've
was
messed up.
thinking.
I can promise you, if you were doing cryptocurrency, there's a transaction you forgot about, there's an exchange you forgot about, there's something that you have forgot about that will come back and bite you in the ass. So I tell people just pay it. Now, all the crypto that I spend is through 4 different Coinbase accounts. I've got my personal account, a business account, my wife's account, and then my wife has a secondary account. So all 4 of those are what we're going to spend throughout the year. Or if I'm sending, say, transactions, because there's places that I go, I don't have it on me. Like I'll use my Coinbase card and I'll swipe it. Well, at the end of the year, they're going to send me and I'll show you here. This is why we like transparency. Um, so if I go into my Coinbase wallet and I scroll all the way down, I'm going to go to taxes. And when I go to taxes, it's going to pull up a form, and I'll show you this here. Let it think for a second. It's going to say my year to date taxes. All right. So year to date is all the money that I have gained in Coinbase. And the only thing I use in this Coinbase is for swiping a card. So this is not my holding wallet. This is not anything. This is strictly swiping my card. And you'll see right there that it'll say estimated gain $251,000. So in the bottom, you'll see where it'll say right here where I've, converted to crypto, sold crypto, and I've spent crypto. So a lot of if I convert it from crypto, so say that $72,000 I've converted from crypto, I'll convert that to probably Suku or USDT because I know that's what I'm going to spend. The sold crypto is if I'm selling it to then send it to my bank account. My spent crypto is what I've used on a card specifically for spending that crypto. So that gives my estimated gain. I just plug that in my tax form, and however much that is, I just pay. Because chances are that $251,000 that I'm showing here, that's fake money. That's money I made off trading. That was just a push of a button that I printed out of thin air. So why would I worry about paying 30+% on these taxes on money that I printed. I literally just pushed a button to trade, make some money. So if I try to hide that or try to do these crazy write-offs, all that's going to do is put me in a situation of, man, I could fall into an audit. And if they start digging hard, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful advice. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I've been paying attention to Eric Trump talking, and they've been saying that Trump wants to make American-based cryptos tax-free. So to me, my biggest holding is HBAR. I've got probably 600,000 coins there. And then my next biggest is XRP. And then my next biggest is XLM. Those are all American based. I don't know if it's going to happen, but damn, I'm sure I'm hoping it does. And I got to imagine retail, if they're not stupid, starts flooding into those.
Yep.
Do you think that'll happen? I mean, I know you can't see the future, but do you think there's a strong chance, or you think there's no way in hell that'll get through?
I mean, it would be amazing to see it happen, but we also got to think about how much money can be made by taxing Americans that are in this.
Oh, no.
I've never heard of any banking system that says, you know what, we're not going to tax Americans on their gains. It'd be amazing. I would love it. If I didn't get taxed on crypto, I would probably spend 10 times that in crypto if I wasn't going to get taxed on it. Um, it could happen. There's always a way. Um, there's always someone who wants to make money too, because again, if there's no taxes on crypto, how many politicians and people in Senate and Congress do we have that's in crypto that
Yep.
they're like, this could save me a ton of money? So, I mean, I would love to see that. I don't think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it in the next 4 to 8 years.
Okay.
It's gonna be really tough to see
Okay.
crypto not taxed. I mean, because there's just so much money for them. But again, keep in mind it's also a gray area.
Mhm.
I mean, if you go, I want to say Coinbase actually says it in here when you look at let me see, I've got my PDF for my capital gains and loss report. And I'm going to say, I believe at some point they said on the report itself, let's see here. It'll say, let's see, uh, there's somewhere on this report or somewhere that says this information is not given to the IRS. Um,
Okay.
and I forgot where that was.
I
Here
was
it is.
curious if they did. Yeah, I was
Let's
curious.
see.
That used to be on all stock transactions as well. There's
Yeah.
only a period of time later on where it got passed that they had to
Here it is. Yeah.
report what you purchased for stocks.
Yeah. It says right
So
here on the bottom, it
it
says,
became more restrictive.
yeah, it says right here, it says, we are not required to issue a Form 1099-B or issue reporting to the IRS if you sell, trade, or spend your cryptocurrency at this time. This year, you can download your capital gains report from documents to help you with filing your taxes. So, I mean, they're literally telling you, we're not reporting this. So if you report it, cool. If you don't report it, cool. But you know how the government works. They say in 2 years from now, hey, you need to report all cryptocurrency. And then now you're going to have to amend taxes and go back and report it and do this and do that. So it's like, I tell people, just get it over with. But there is one thing I'll add to that. Bitcoin is considered, an asset. So if you're trading asset to asset, it's a non-taxable event, right? So
Oh, uh, I'm not sure I agree with that, correct? Because it depends on the asset, the type of transaction anywhere else. Crypto, gray, but
so hear me out on this. If I've
yeah.
got technically, legally, if I've got a lawnmower and I'm trading Jason my lawnmower for his lawnmower, if my lawnmower is valued more than his lawnmower, I'm supposed to pay taxes on that.
But let's say we're trading houses and one's more valuable than the other.
Then you could actually be at a loss. So you're not doing anything. So I tell people,
Yeah.
in the past, a lot of your big crypto guys have taken their Bitcoin and they've bought cars with it. So like you can go to Eurostable and you can buy a car with your Bitcoin and you're trading, obviously digital asset to car, and they'll do that all day. I've watched them do it with
Wow.
houses. I've watched them do it with property. I mean, my two of my Ferraris and one of my McLarens, I bought with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So again, it's just another way of moving around in the system. of how people get away with it. People do
Damn, I
it
wish
with
I would
art.
talk to you before I just grabbed a McLaren with some of my stuff
Yes,
that I made for HBAR.
if you ever need a supercar, go through Eurostable. He's on Instagram. It's just
Hmm.
Eurostable. He does all transactions in Bitcoin, and that's who I've gotten all my cars from. And
Wow.
but even like with art, there's people that'll say, "Hey, man, I'll sell you this piece of art. How much is it worth?" Well, I mean, it's worth whatever it's worth for.
That's
You
true.
know, well, I'll sell it to you for $1.6 million of Bitcoin. Cool.
Nice.
Asheville, North Carolina opened up my eyes to what people pay for art. When I walked through there and saw like 60K like OG prints, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. And it's fair, quantified time and so forth. I do want to wrap this up here in a second, but let's cover maybe a top five that you
Yep.
would watch going into 2025 that you feel good about. And then let's get everybody to follow you, Andrew, where everybody can sign up for your Discord, hit you up. Let's get you some people going
Yep.
your
Yeah, I
way
need
because
that
I do think
info.
that's awesome.
I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. So Instagram is real Andy Peters. It'll have the blue check mark. Do not get scammed. Please, please, please do not get scammed because at one point in time, there's like 100+ profiles of mine. And the Bitcoin wallet address that they were scamming people from got all the way up to
Uh,
$3.2 million.
Damn.
So that, and it wasn't just me they were impersonating. They were impersonating
wow.
other influencers and everything. And I mean, it
I
actually
hate
just happened.
people.
Yeah, it actually just happened this week. I just had the police officers at my house 3 days ago filing a police report on another person here locally. They got taken for 2,500 bucks. Last week, a person was taken for 30 grand. A week before that, a
Ooh.
person was taken for almost 90 grand. And these
Oh,
are local in my city. So I tell everyone, I'm never going to ask you for money. I'm never going to message you first, and I'm never going to trade your funds for you because that's illegal and I'll go to prison. So keep that in mind. I'm never going to do that. So it's real Andy Peters, the blue check mark. As far as my Discord, that link is posted on my Instagram and my handle. You can message me directly, and then I can get you the link to the Discord. And guys, I'll send you the Discord as well. I'll get
Cool.
all you guys on it. For my top 5 coins for today that I'm looking at, it's Suku, SUKU, currently trading at 7 cents. They've got some big news that's supposed to be coming up in 2025. Whether or not it happens, we'll see, but they've got some listings that are supposed to be taking place. That'll be a big one. We have Dent, DENT. That one's now trading at a tenth of a penny. They've got, again, big news that's supposed to be coming in January, February of next year. That was actually the coin that I was posting about in 20, think it was like 2017, 2018. And for every $1,000 that we invested, it made us 72 grand. So when that one pumped, we ended up, I think that's when I bought my R8, my Ferrari and G-Wagon actually out of the profits
nice.
from that. So Dent, I think, still has a nice run on top of it. Really big on PAL AI,
Yeah.
PAAL AI. They've got some cool stuff that they're working on. I think that's going to be a solid project. And then I'm looking at Scale, which is SKL USD. I keep tabs on that one. It's currently trending at 4 cents. And then the last one that I'll throw out is this one called, oh, and PAL, literally, as I say that, news just popped up. It says, PAL is thrilled to unveil our partnership with IBM coming through their official channel. So
Oh,
PAL doing their AI program just linked up with IBM.
What
So
is
that's
that one
going to be
again? How would you find that?
PAL, PAAL.
yeah.
So that's going to be a big project. And then the next one that I'm looking at, I've got two. I'm going to throw more out there. Ondo,
Yeah.
ON. Yep, that one's going to be a good one. ONDA. I think that one's going to be solid.
I
And then we
agree.
got a CPAL, which is CPAL, and that's going to be another AI coin that they're going to hit out there.
Yeah. The
So
AI is, I agree with that sector. I mean, think about just how NVIDIA ran and,
no,
I think the
I
AI is,
spelled Ondo wrong. Sorry, I just realized I said A. It's ONDO is what you're looking for.
Cool.
We're going to look back, guys, in like 5 years from now and say, man, we made a
Yeah,
ton of money
no.
off that Zoom.
I know you, Andy, myself, and Scoob are gonna be doing the crypto meathead thing here.
hell yeah.
Yeah, and I want to
Once a
say I
month or
appreciate you
so.
guys having me on here. I don't
Yeah, no.
do I get my wife, she always gets on to me because she's like, you should do, more podcasts. You should be more active. And I don't. I just don't because man, a lot of these podcasts that you get on here are a bunch of goofballs. They're just young, they're uneducated, they don't understand, that when you do stuff like this, it's influence. Like, you know, this podcast that you guys are doing, whether or not you see it as influence, it's going to influence people one way or another. It's going to influence people from the gym to the bodybuilding community to people that are friends and family. And you've got to be well educated. You've got to understand the risks that come with this. And you've got to have a group of people who are willing to educate and tell people that risk.
Yep.
And some of the podcasts I've been on, it's been people that are just wanting to pump something, people that are wanting to, you know, have you come in and talk about something in hopes to better their pockets. And it's like, you've got to have a reason and purpose with it. So, you know, when obviously Jason had reached out to me, it's someone that I trust. You know, I was like, man, if he's vouching for this group, then it's got to be a great group of guys. And I mean, heck, I had Jason on our local news channel back in 2017, which was pretty funny because he was like, I was like, Jason, please do this.
Yeah.
Like you're a man of your word. Like
Yeah.
I think this would be good. And he did. He jumped on our local news station and did an interview, you know, virtual for him. So knowing what he had done for me, it's like, man, this is the least that I can do for you guys and be part of this.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
man, we appreciate it.
I've
So,
got to start working out more so I can have these cat shoulders and arms when I'm on here. Because if this is the meat, you know, the meathead podcast,
Meathead,
I
yeah.
can't come on here. You know, I can't come on here looking like this.
It'll give you some motivation. Yeah.
The trick is trend, just as much trend as you can shoot. Yeah, that's it.
Hey, don't
Even
give away those
Robo-
tricks.
Even
Yeah.
Robo knows the real secret.
Man,
I don't hide
I
it from him.
I did my fair share of runs back in the day, and it ended me up in the hospital in the ER, and I
Oh.
thought I was dying. But
Yeah, I get that.
insulin is a bad drug. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, I don't like it. I can't. Jason will tell you, I can't control it. Like it screws me up, so I get it. With that being said, Andrew, man, we really appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna put all his contact info in the notes when you all see this, and then we'll have a separate channel we'll be doing with just the
Hey,
three of us. Robo
Jeff,
might
do you want to
jump in
give
here.
like 2 or 3 of your coins and I'll give 2 or 3?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah, I'd
know,
love to hear y'all's too. I'm gonna take note of them.
dude, I went into Floki. I put a K into that because it's, you know, a gaming token. And just being around my kids, I just thought that it made logical sense to me. I did a little bit of research, and I think it's in like 5 to 10 years, it might be that coin that I look back on and say, "Hey, I'm glad I put that money there."
Like a Pepe type.
Yeah, I put money in
And you know what?
Pepe,
I'm
Mog.
glad you mentioned that coin because, I mean, obviously it's one I keep tabs on. It's 8x from its lowest point ever, which is pretty dang good. But it just had that massive, you know, fall right now,
Correct.
which fell it fell 1x from its all-time high. So again, we talk about retracements. This is one of those scenarios again where it's at a perfect, you know, buy opportunity, you know, that's
Yeah.
up there. So
I really like that one. And then a lot of my plays, man, are like, you know, we've talked about Jay, HBAR, XRP, XLM. I'm kind of playing more of like how does this look for me in 5 to 10 years? I think if you're going to go into crypto, if you're going to take your profits, what I decide to do is just anytime I take profits is just put it back into other cryptos. And just kind of convert them through as I start spreading my portfolio. I agree with Andrew in the sense of I have a Coinbase debit card and just kind of utilizing that to do day-to-day living, man. I think it's going to be the future. I think it's already here. Demantis was right. The future is faster than you think. But what about you? What about coins? I know you advised me. So those are
Yeah.
just the little ones I like.
I mean, my biggest holding is HBAR. I think fundamentals are important, but it also has good fundamentals. But everyone on YouTube is talking about it. And so when you've got buy-in, but you know, there's partnerships with Intel through their equity lab, and that just came out. And then I know it's getting used in SpaceX. And although it's not a direct endorsement from Elon, anything that's involved with his stuff seems to always do well. So HBAR is up though like 500%, and I was in on that. So I sold my first bag and took about 150 profit, and then pull all my money back, and then I'm just playing on the house's money right now. I bought another bag and some other stuff. I really like AI Oz in the AI play, and then internet computer are my big plays there. And then I want to be in gaming as well. What do I have in gaming? I think is it Render? That might be an AI as well.
Yeah.
What was my gaming play? Maybe I got rid of it, but I wanted to be in gaming. I hate to look at my portfolio right now because I don't want to look at it because it's down. And then XLM and then XRP. And so I
Yeah,
think
there's a lot of those too.
those in HBAR are American made, and if that tax does come through, that'll be great. You can make profits there. But XRP looks like it's going to be a big one. Over time, and it'd be one of those ones to like dollar cost average into where you don't have to really look at it, I think. And I think HBAR is going to do really well here in the market, even though it's up pretty nicely. I think it's probably got about $1 on it. But again, not financial advice, just kind of what I'm seeing. AIOS, ICP, HBAR, XLM, and those would be some ones to go ahead and take a look at, I think.
Yeah, I think those are all great suggestions. I also think it's one of those where you have your base ones like we covered XRP, XLM, things like that. And if you're looking to get saucy, that's probably where I'd join Andrew's Discord channel and figure out like the special ones. And because the biggest concerns when you talk to people in the gym and like I just have conversations with people about it, is one, how do they buy it? And two, how safe is it? And three, because most people, so I think when you could send people to a trusted source to kind of have that, and Andrew, that's something I would tell you that I'm sure you hear mostly about. So that's for another conversation another day. But nonetheless, I think that that's all good starting advice for anyone wanting to listen. The path to go with some investments early on.
The gaming that I am is, and the gaming one I'm in is sand.
Yep.
A lot of people have, an $8 on that in the big pump. I mean, it's really down right now. So I'm actually, that's one of my only coins I'm down. I bought too high, but it's down to 55 cents right now, and it's ran up to almost $1. So like Andrew was saying, if you really like that gaming play and believe that that'll pump, that would be a good time to get in. It's 55 cents. So.
And there's a guy I've got. He's a very quiet individual. He doesn't like to do too much. But if you guys ever wanted another like crypto bro to come on here, he's very, very good at finding projects and mapping things out. And he goes down. He's one of those guys. Like I said, he's at home in his office. Just search and research. And I can promise you, if we ever wanted him to come on here and explain like how he looks at coins, how he researches them, how he charts them, and all that stuff, he would be willing to jump on here for sure.
Yeah, let's do that on Crypto Meatheads. I think that'd be amazing. That'd be awesome.
Well, man, we appreciate you taking the time to join us and have yourself a rad day. Guys, I'll chat with you soon. Peace.
All right. Yo.
Peace.